Buckingham Palace. Tourists buzzing, pigeons pacing, and somewhere in the distance, a Scottish bagpipe was absolutely butchering "My Heart Will Go On." The usual madness of London. But today would be different. Today would be royal history. Or royal comedy. Maybe both. See, Adele was bored. Not regular bored. Rich famous diva bored. The kind of bored where you've already organized your spice rack alphabetically and rewatched every season of Downton Abbey backward. She needed chaos. She needed spice. She needed a royal guard. And there he was, standing like a massive ketchup bottle dressed for a funeral. Red jacket, black fluffy hat the size of a toddler, face locked into the most British scowl known to mankind. He wasn't moving. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't even breathing, as far as Adele could tell. Naturally, she walked straight up to him, tea in one hand, phone in the other, recording her own TikTok commentary. "All right, love," she said, squinting. "You good? You alive in there? You look like you got possessed by a teabag ghost." Nothing. Silence. The man was a statue. Tourists were already whispering. A group of Americans was pointing and saying, "Oh my God, is that Adele?" A child asked his mother if the big red man was a robot. The mother nodded yes. Adele raised her eyebrow. She wasn't just going to stand there and be ignored by a human vending machine. "Oi. Hello. You ever heard of manners? I sang at the Oscars. You could at least blink once." Still nothing. Challenge accepted. She backed up a step, handed her tea to a French tourist, and cracked her neck like she was about to enter a rap battle. "You leave me no choice," she whispered. And then it happened. Adele belted. She unleashed a note so powerful, so soul-piercing, pigeons 5 blocks away lost their feathers. Tourists screamed. A German man dropped his currywurst. Someone's iPhone exploded in their hands. A double-decker bus hit the brakes so hard, 5 people spilled out the top. Hello from the other side. Still, the guard didn't move. Not an inch. Not even a twitch of an eyebrow. Adele blinked. "You cheeky little government lamppost. You think you're better than me? All right. Plan B." She yanked open her designer handbag and pulled out a thermos labeled Adele's Midnight Brew. She took a deep, dramatic sip, then offered it to him. "PG tips. With a splash of gin. Don't be shy, love. The Queen drinks this before chess." Nothing. Adele stared him down like a lion judging a salad. Then she grinned. "Okay, love. If you won't sip tea, you'll have to face the music." And she danced. She twirled. She moonwalked. She did a cartwheel so surprisingly graceful, a Japanese tourist yelled, "Sugoi." She spun around like a caffeinated figure skater in heels and belted out her deepest note yet. People were crying. Grown men were clutching their chests. A street mime dropped character and applauded. Someone live-streamed the whole thing and titled it, "Adele Ends the Monarchy with a Single Note." Still, the guard stood frozen. The king of no reaction. But Adele was just getting started. She did a death drop. She performed a dramatic fake faint into a random tourist's arms. She poured a second cup of tea and tried to mime slap the guard's cheek. No reaction. It was maddening. It was glorious. And then, as Adele leaned in close, so close she could smell royal shoe polish, she whispered, "If you blink, I win." And there it was. A blink. Not both eyes. Just one. But it was enough. The crowd gasped like someone had just proposed to Adele live on air. A woman fainted. A man burst into tears. Someone's grandma screamed, "The prophecy!" And Adele. Adele grinned so wide her own teeth applauded. "I knew it!" she shrieked. "I am the guard whisperer." She turned to the crowd like a preacher and raised her tea to the sky. This, my friends, is what happens when you give a woman too much fame, too much caffeine, and not enough attention. Everyone cheered. Except the guard, who had returned to his stone-cold pose, but now with what might have been the ghost of a smile. Adele slowly moonwalked away, tea in hand, sunglasses on, muttering to herself, "No one out-stiffens me. Not even the Queen's red Lego men." Buckingham would never be the same. The moment the guard blinked, it was as if the entire monarchy shifted on its axis. Somewhere deep inside Buckingham Palace, a teacup cracked without being touched. A portrait of Queen Victoria tilted slightly on its own. A corgi paused mid-zoomy in confusion. Back on the street, Adele was soaking up the glory like she just dropped a new album live from the cobblestones. People were clapping, chanting. One guy tried to start a wave but failed halfway through and knocked over a baby stroller. Then suddenly, sirens. Not loud ones. Classy ones. British sirens. You know the kind. Like, "Excuse me, but are you committing a crime, dear?" Sirens. A black car with tinted windows and gold-rimmed hubcaps pulled up to the gate. 4 men in suits stepped out. Not regular suits. Royal suits. The kind of suit that says, "We serve the crown, but we also carry handcuffs in a velvet pouch." One of them held up a tiny scroll, because apparently that's still a thing in the UK. "Adele Laurie Blue Adkins," he announced in the Queen's English so hard it gave people nosebleeds. "You are hereby requested, not arrested, mind you, to join us for an informal conversation regarding today's artistic disturbance." Adele didn't flinch. She took a final sip of her tea, flung the cup over her shoulder, it hit a bicycle messenger, and strutted straight into the palace like it was her grandma's living room. The guards opened the gates. The crowd parted like a budget Red Sea. The royal guard, still silent, tilted his head ever so slightly, as if to say, "You got this, Adele." And oh, she did. Inside the palace, things got weird. Adele was escorted down a long hallway where every painting watched her with judgmental oil paint eyes. There was a butler with a tray of cucumber sandwiches who bowed every 3 feet, no matter where she stood. Finally, she was led into a chamber labeled Department of Public Decorum and Scandal Management. Inside were 3 very official-looking Brits in wigs, sipping tea aggressively. Not drinking tea. Sipping it with judgment. The middle one looked like if Benedict Cumberbatch and a walrus had a baby. He adjusted his monocle and spoke. "Miss Adele, today you made a royal guard blink." He said it like she had unleashed a demon. "You made him blink," repeated the second official, clutching a clipboard like it was his emotional support animal. "That's a violation of the 1842 No-Blink Act." Adele squinted. "Is that a real law?" "No," said the third one, pulling out a biscuit and slamming it on the table. "But it should be." Adele folded her arms, leaned back in the Victorian chair, which made a fart noise, and smiled. "Look, fellas. I'm not here to start a revolution. I just wanted a reaction. A little eye twitch. Maybe a chuckle." Man was standing there like he hadn't felt happiness since the Spice Girls broke up. They gasped. One of them dropped his biscuit. "You dare slander the silence of the guard?" She leaned forward, fiery now. "No. I freed him. I unlocked his inner blink. I am the guard whisperer." They all stared at her, in silence, until the door burst open, and in waddled the most unexpected guest yet, a corgi. But not just any corgi. This one had a tiny crown and a gold-embroidered vest that said, HR Department. Adele burst out laughing. "Oh, so this is HR now. A dog in a cape." The corgi barked once and sat down next to her like it had final say. A moment passed. The biscuit man stood. "Well, Ms. Adele. Upon review by Sir Barkington here, we've concluded your actions, while highly improper, were undeniably iconic." The others nodded slowly. "In fact," continued the monocle man, "Her Majesty would like a word. In person." Adele's jaw dropped. "The Queen." Like, the actual Queen. Like, the Queen. The corgi barked twice, which obviously meant yes. The door opened again, and in walked a small army of footmen carrying an inflatable throne. Not a real throne. An inflatable one. With glitter. It was Her Majesty's informal throne, apparently. And that meant things were about to get even weirder. Adele didn't quite know what to expect from a royal audience, especially not one that started with an inflatable throne. But there it was, bouncing slightly as it was carried by 6 extremely serious-looking royal footmen, each with matching gray mustaches and the exact same disapproving frown. The throne was baby pink, covered in sparkles, and the backrest had sequined lettering that said, in all caps, Queenie Mode, engaged, and sitting atop it, none other than Her Royal Majesty. Not the wax version, not a double, not a deepfake, the real Queen, wearing sunglasses, and eating a lemon scone with the speed and efficiency of a TikTok mukbang star. Adele froze mid-breath. The Queen slowly removed her shades like she was about to ask for ID at a pub. Well, 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 she said, her voice dripping with 93 years of perfectly preserved sarcasm. So you're the one who made Kevin blink. Adele blinked herself. Kevin. Yes, said the Queen, patting her corgi gently. That's his name. Kevin the Royal Guard. Quiet boy. Hates musicals. Loves Sudoku. Adele grinned. He's got taste. Except for the part where he ignored me for 5 whole minutes. The Queen snorted. Snorted. Like an old lady dragon who just saw someone slip on a banana peel. My dear, you may not realize it, but you've caused a constitutional crisis. You made a beefeater twitch. I made him blink. Exactly, the Queen said, sipping from a teacup that said, World's Sassiest Monarch. Do you know what happened the last time someone made a guard react? Adele leaned in. 1912, the Queen continued. A Scottish noblewoman sneezed too close to a guard. He sneezed back. The empire collapsed. Adele blinked. That's not in the history books. The Queen raised an eyebrow. Exactly. There was a silence. The kind of silence that only occurs when one diva senses another's power. The Queen narrowed her eyes. Adele squared her shoulders. And the corgi barked. Once. Loud. The Queen stood, slowly, dramatically, the inflatable throne audibly wheezing behind her as she rose. Adele, you've awakened something ancient. Something forbidden. Adele tilted her head. You mean, the monarchy? No, the Queen said. The Great Royal Karaoke League. Thunder cracked. Indoors. A footman passed out. Adele squinted. Wait, you mean there's a secret karaoke club run by the Crown? The Queen nodded solemnly. We meet once a decade, in secret, to test the worthiness of voices powerful enough to shatter protocol. Adele couldn't help it. I'm in. The Queen nodded again. Then she clapped twice. Suddenly, the room transformed. The floor retracted. Spotlights popped out of antique sconces. Disco balls descended from crystal chandeliers. A DJ booth rose from beneath the Queen's corgi rug, manned by a disturbingly handsome butler in sequined gloves. Adele whispered, Bloody hell. The Queen whispered back, Damn right. And then, she took the mic. The Queen took the mic, and belted out the most horrifyingly intense cover of Eminem's Lose Yourself ever heard by British or human ears. She rapped. She swayed. She pointed at Adele like she wanted a rap battle and a duel all at once. His palms are sweaty, she growled. Knees weak, scone is heavy. Adele stood there, mouth open, holding a karaoke mic shaped like the crown jewels. The Queen dropped the mic with a royal clunk. The corgi barked twice. The DJ bowed. Then, she gestured. Adele's turn. And Adele, oh Adele, didn't miss a beat. She grabbed the mic, spun around like it was Wembley Stadium, and launched into a completely unauthorized remix of Rolling in the Deep, mixed with the Spice Girls' Wannabe. She was channeling soul, sass, and the spirit of every pub karaoke night that ever spiraled out of control. The Queen was bobbing her head. A footman cried. One of the paintings fell off the wall from sheer power. The duel ended with both women gasping, sweating, and simultaneously high-fiving while sipping elderflower cocktails served in antique helmets. Silence. Then the Queen clapped once. "Welcome," she said softly, "to the Royal Karaoke Inner Circle." The corgi barked 3 times and winked. Adele, panting, dropped into a Louis XIV armchair and said, "So, what now?" The Queen smiled with terrifying calm. "Now, my dear, you and I are going to prank call Elton John." The viral spiral wasn't slowing down. In fact, Buckingham Palace had essentially become ground zero for influencer energy. It started subtly. One footman replaced his standard royal-issued monocle with a ring light. Another installed a coffee bar near the West Wing corridor and called it Ye Old Froth. But things escalated fast. By the time the sun set that same evening, at least 3 separate content houses had illegally parked converted food trucks on the palace lawn. A one served artisanal toast. A one sold historical fidget spinners. The last one offered beard oil, infused with royal disappointment. A French vlogger filmed himself licking the gate. A group of Dutch pranksters dressed like giant corgis and tried to break in. Someone live-streamed a full 24-hour challenge. "I lived outside Buckingham until a guard blinked at me," emotional. Meanwhile, back inside, Adele was teaching the Queen the fundamentals of thirst traps. "Ma'am, chin up, pout slightly. No, not like you just smelled the Magna Carta, I mean seductive." The Queen adjusted her pearls. "Like this." She tilted her head. The result? Instant TikTok thirst trap. Caption: "Granny's still got it fire #Queen Thickabeth #Sovereign Slay." 2 million likes in 2 hours. Even the Pope commented with a fire emoji. By 8 p.m., Buckingham Palace had more engagement than all of Netflix. The royal staff was in panic mode. But not about security. Oh no. About branding. "Do we change the flag to a QR code?" asked one footman. "What if we rebrand the palace as a museum/co-working space?" suggested a duchess. "What if we start a palace-only OnlyFans?" whispered a very confused intern. "No," barked the Queen. "Only corgis. Keep it classy." Even the corgi was now verified on every platform. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, even MySpace, which had somehow reawakened from the dead just to feature him. Kevin, now a global sensation, was experiencing full-blown celebrity metamorphosis. He had a team of stylists who specialized in silent fashion. A documentary deal with Netflix titled Stiff, The Guard Who Moved Us. A line of cologne, Blink, for men who don't. He had also begun speaking in press conferences. 1 word per day. Day 1, hello. Day 2, gratitude. Day 3, blink. Day 4, privacy. By day 5, he'd said enough to earn a BAFTA. Adele, watching all this unfold, sipped tea and whispered to the Queen, "I've created a monster." The Queen didn't look up from her knitting. He was always in there. You just uncorked the stoicism. As fame fever gripped the palace, celebrities began arriving unannounced. Beyoncé appeared out of nowhere in a gold gown, flanked by 2 backup dancers and a harpist. "I heard someone was breaking protocol," she said, eyes narrowing at Kevin. He didn't blink. She nodded with approval. Then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson showed up wearing a beefeater hat 2 sizes too small. "Is this the place?" he asked. "I brought protein scones." He fist-bumped a confused corgi and disappeared into the throne room. Even Gordon Ramsay showed up, yelling at a pastry. "This tart is so raw it's about to join the army." No one knew why he was there, but the Queen made him stay. "He's spicy," she said, giggling behind her teacup. In the center of it all, Adele had gone fully native. She now wore an outfit that combined a royal sash that said, "Lady of the Lads," a combat boots, a tiara made entirely of spoon handles, and a cape that read, "Chaos in Chiffon." She had also taken over part of the palace library and renamed it Studio T7. It was soundproofed and heavily scented with bergamot. That's where the real plan began. "We should do a crossover album," she told Kevin, sitting backwards on a velvet chair like a pop star school counselor. Kevin looked at her. He nodded. A single blink. That was enough. 3 hours later, the first single dropped. Stand there and blink twice if you want me. By Adele Feet the Guard, aka Sir Blink-A-Lot. It went to #1 in 6 countries. The music video. A slow-motion black-and-white masterpiece showing Kevin doing absolutely nothing as Adele sings circles around him in a hurricane of glitter, tea, and emotional unresolved issues. Rolling Stone called it the most aggressively still music video since Yoko Ono blinked at a potted plant in 1973. But then came the haters. A rogue faction of retired guards launched a campaign called Keep Calm, Stay Blank. They accused Kevin of betraying the sacred code of unfeeling silence. They protested outside the palace wearing trench coats and holding signs that read, "Blinking is treason. Real guards stare into your soul. Adelant do it." The Queen watched from her window, snorted, and said, "I remember when protests had at least one marching band." Adele. She put on her boots and walked outside. She approached the leader, Sir Reginald Mustachington III. "You're mad because he blinked?" she asked. Sir Reggie's monocle nearly exploded. "He broke the code." Adele pulled off her sunglasses. "So did I. And the code can suck my scone." Gasps echoed down the street. Kevin appeared behind her, slowly raised one gloved hand, and gently removed his hat. It was the royal equivalent of flipping the bird. The protesters wept. Back inside, the Queen poured a final cup of tea, leaned toward Adele, and asked, "What do you want, dear?" Adele thought for a moment. "I want to knight Kevin." There was a silence. Then the Queen grinned. "Do it. On TikTok. At dawn." And so it was done. Kevin, standing on the balcony of Buckingham, blinking proudly. Adele, sword in one hand, tea in the other. The Queen, DJing. The corgi, barking to the beat. Millions watched live. As Adele tapped each shoulder and declared, "Sir Kevin of the Blink, Knight of Expression, Duke of Minimal Movement, Baron of Bass Drops." Kevin smiled. For the first time. The internet imploded. And somewhere deep in a palace basement, another guard, one no one had ever noticed before, felt a tear. And whispered, "Maybe I can blink too." Buckingham Palace had officially evolved from royal residence to content creator headquarters. But they weren't stopping at TikTok. No, no, no. The monarchy had tasted the sweet nectar of algorithmic attention, and they wanted more. It began with a suggestion from Sir Kevin himself, who now communicated exclusively via whiteboard messages, interpretive eyebrow raises, and a personal voice assistant named Sir Blinks-A-Lot AI that only said one thing, affirmative. Adele read his newest message out loud, gasping as she held it up to the corgi and Queen. World Tour. The Queen sipped her tea and didn't blink. "Yes. It's time." She stood, walked over to the throne, and pressed a button hidden inside a golden teapot. The wall behind her flipped open, revealing a massive tactical map of the globe marked with blinking LEDs, T symbols, and tiny animatronic corgis. The Queen pointed with her scone. "We start in Tokyo. The Japanese adore discipline. Kevin will sell out the dome with one side eye." Adele was stunned. "This is bonkers." "No, dear," the Queen corrected, putting on a rhinestone-studded visor. "This is Empire." The Royal Guard World Tour kicked off under the banner. The blink heard round the world. Kevin didn't sing. He didn't dance. He didn't speak. He just stood on stage while Adele performed explosive ballads around him, and the Queen scratched vinyl behind a neon DJ booth shaped like a teapot. The first concert in Tokyo? Sold out in 22 seconds. Opening act. A synchronized tea-pouring competition judged by Gordon Ramsay and a Buddhist monk. The crowd? Silent. Reverent. When Kevin blinked during Adele's chorus, 3 people passed out. One woman proposed to her own reflection. A tweet went viral. "That moment when Sir Kevin blinked during the bridge? I achieved spiritual enlightenment." Stop 2. Seoul, South Korea. A pop culture capital. Perfect. Except, trouble brewed. Because while Adele was belting out Someone Like You in a hanbok made entirely of oolong tea bags, the Queen got an unexpected call from Palace Intelligence. On a golden flip phone, naturally. She answered with a dramatic, "Go ahead." The voice on the other line was tense. "Your Majesty, the Sultanate of Glitzerovia is mobilizing." The Queen choked on her machi. "They're what?" "Launching their own viral monarchy. They're calling him the Smirk Duke." The Queen's hand clenched around her teacup until it cracked. "They're trying to dethrone Kevin," with a smile. The threat was real. The Smirk Duke, a platinum-blonde princeling from the obscure and possibly fictional Kingdom of Glitzerovia, was trending globally. He had a jawline sharp enough to slice royal treaties, a TikTok dance that caused nosebleeds, a fan base called the Smirklings. He winked on live TV once and caused a stock market crash. The Queen, Adele, and Kevin held an emergency meeting on the tour bus, which was shaped like a giant teacup on wheels. Adele paced. "This is getting out of hand. We can't be out-viraled by a man who wears leather pants with a crown decal." Kevin blinked slowly. Twice. The Queen nodded. "He agrees. We escalate." They launched Phase 2, Operation Blinkenstein. Every concert from that point on featured a Kevin in a new national costume doing minimal movement set to maximalist EDM, or Adele performing in languages she learned phonetically 5 minutes prior. And the Queen hosting live Q&As where fans asked questions like, "What's your Hogwarts house?" and "Are your corgis single?" It worked. Until Glitzerovia struck back. Stop 5, Paris. Mid-show, Kevin went missing. 1 second he was on stage, blinking stoically. The next, gone. The Queen screamed into her glittery mic, "Kevin has been compromised." The concert crowd gasped in perfect unison. Even the Eiffel Tower flickered. Security cameras showed a group of suspicious figures in absurdly tight capes dragging Kevin into a sedan shaped like a Fabergé. A ransom note was delivered via TikTok duets. The Smirk Duke posted, "You blinked first. Now he's mine. #Monarch Wars #CatchMeIfYou Corgi." Adele snapped. "Oh, it's on, you gilded goblin." She summoned every ounce of London street sass and Grammy-winning vocal rage and dropped a diss track overnight titled, "Smirk This." It had a bagpipes, a screaming, or a solo from the Queen on kazoo, and Kevin's blinking sound sampled into a beat drop. It charted higher than the national anthem. Even America declared it a bipartisan banger. The Queen immediately dispatched a royal extraction squad, made up of a MI6 retirees with scooters, 3 highly trained corgis, a Adele in a glittering tactical jumpsuit labeled Mum Mode, and a teacup drone named BL-1NKY. The rescue was swift and oddly cinematic. They broke into the Glitzerovian palace during the Smirk Duke's Mirror Yoga livestream. Adele flung open the door mid-bridge of "Hello," causing him to choke on his oat milk latte. The Queen tossed a guard while quoting Shakespeare. Kevin escaped by blinking in Morse code to confuse the security lasers. They made it out with Kevin and the Duke's entire skincare routine. Back in London, a press conference was held. Kevin stood at the podium. Adele beside him. The Queen behind them, arms crossed like a proud DJ grandma. Kevin leaned toward the mic and said, "I blink for no man." The crowd lost it. A global treaty was signed the next day at Buckingham. The Blink Accords. A no monarch shall interfere in another monarch's viral strategy. A no TikTok dance may last more than 30 seconds unless it features a corgi. And Sir Kevin shall forever remain the king of minimal movement. Adele looked at the Queen. "So what now?" The Queen smirked. "We release the blooper reel." The day of the film premiere was unlike any other in British history. Buckingham Palace wasn't just glowing, it was projecting emojis into the sky using repurposed Royal Navy lasers. Kevin's face was on billboards, holograms, even the Queen's corgi's golden dog tag. The title? The Man Who Blinked, based on absolutely true events, mostly. Directed by Greta Gerwig. Produced by Adele. Scored entirely with kazoo. As limos rolled up to the Palestern Theater, Adele strutted down the red carpet in a dress made of recycled Union Jack flags and empty Yorkshire tea boxes. Kevin followed behind in a velvet beefeater robe, moving in bullet-time slow motion like a royal version of Neo from The Matrix. Then came the Queen. She rode in on a hover corgi chariot, wearing sunglasses and a neon crown that said, #OneNana. The crowd went feral. Someone fainted into a plate of finger sandwiches. The BBC anchor dropped their microphone and whispered, "We are not worthy." The premiere began. The lights dimmed. The opening scene? A close-up of Kevin's eye. Blinking. In IMAX. The theater gasped. Someone proposed in the row behind. Tears flowed. Scones were thrown. The credits hadn't even rolled yet. Midway through the film, there was a surprise intermission. The Queen stood up in front of the entire theater, cleared her throat, and announced, "Effective immediately, I am stepping down from my duties as the reigning monarch, and stepping into my new role as DJ Queenie on SoundCloud." She dropped a mixtape on the spot titled, Dubs Tea, Royal Drops Volume 1. Adele followed her lead and grabbed the mic. "And I'm forming a new political party. The Tea Party. Not the American one, ours actually comes with crumpets." Kevin blinked once,